Hello, lovelies. Welcome to Horror 421, the podcast, with your host, your friendly small-town horror author, Charles Campbell. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the frights in this week's episode.
This episode of Horror 421, the podcast, is brought to you by Terror Tour. Music is a killer. Virginia Morgan is the lead singer of a band called the Valley Rats. They have embarked on a regional tour. There is excitement in the air, but there's also something else. One by one, members of the band receive ominous letters at each stop. At first, they think it is a harmless prank staged by a fan. Soon, they learn it is something much more sinister. The band will have to come together to play the show of their lives if there is any hope that they can survive. The Terror Tour. Terror Tour can be found at valleyboypublications.com by clicking on the shop tab. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Horror 421, the podcast. Today, I have a guy that I've been trying to get on since last season, and it was my fault last season that he couldn't come on. I had other issues going on, but I'm finally so happy to have Mario Gregor on the show. Say hello to everyone, Mario.
Hi, everyone. Hello. How you doing?
Well, Mario is, in my opinion, and I don't have any ink. And when I talked for the guys who saw me speak to Jin Wigmore last year, she said she would give me a tat on a podcast one day. So I would love to have Mario put some ink on me one day. I don't have any, but I would love it. But he is a world renowned tattoo artist, and he is in New Zealand. And from my notes, you're in Featherston, New Zealand. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, Featherston.
Featherston. Well,
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your background and how you decided to become a tattoo artist. I do see you went to school for mechanical engineering. So how did you make that left turn and decide to become a tattoo artist?
I think it was all New Zealand's fault, I'd say. I haven't really, well, back at home when we were growing up and going to school, the art wasn't exactly pushed forward as a field of anything. So we were supposed to be all workers at the factories, So I was only coming to New Zealand when you are surrounded by so many people with tattoos everywhere, and the tradition is ingrained,
Right.
and
Right.
you're just so exposed to it. And I decided I wouldn't mind having some, but coming also from Slovakia to New Zealand when the exchange rate wasn't exactly great,
Right.
to being able to afford a tattoo was totally out of my hands. So I decided to do what I always do. I do stuff by myself. So I
That's right.
decided to buy a machine and just get in it and just have it as a hobby, practice on my legs. And then I didn't know where it's gonna go. And it took me 4 years to get in a shop, but I got there at the end.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, normally this is a horror podcast, so I talk to a lot of people in the horror industry,
Okay.
and we go to a lot of horror conventions, and I see lots of folks all tatted up,
Right.
with their favorite horror icons or their favorite, their favorite movies, whatever they have on their arms and chest and back. Have you done a lot of horror art at all? Has anyone requested that you do some horror things to their bodies?
No, I think my clientele is very specific, and my work is very specific. All I do
Yes,
is
sir.
kind of, I would say, pretty. It's all nature. It's all happy. I think
That's
the most kind of gory thing I did was actually just 3 weeks ago when I tattooed the guy's chest with the Batman logo underneath, and he wanted like a skin ripped off his chest. But
oh,
I've done that
okay.
before, like the skin rip, but often then it's just kind of soft skin peeled, and I'm thinking, if we're gonna do it, why don't we do it like proper, like you just fall off a bicycle on a tar and it just shreds your skin and with blood and gore and stuff, and it's just, oh yeah, man, let's just do that. So I had a good fun to do all that blood textures and blood drips and like really raw skin, which was quite cool.
You're right. Well, for all the folks who are listening to the podcast, you can find Mario Inked by Mario on Instagram, and you can check him out on Facebook. But his it is art. I read his bio. You are an artist first, but it is amazingly beautiful. It's so colorful, and it features backdrops from New Zealand. He's got these awesome looking birds, awesome looking plants. I mean, the stuff that he does is amazing. So, um, what kind of drew you to New Zealand and that lifestyle? I'm interested because I see that you grew up in Czechoslovakia, which is something entirely different than New Zealand. So I'd like to know your transition and kind of compare the two. What was life like in Slovakia versus how you're living now?
Um, I think everything is very different because the it was a kind of also the age change. When I was back home, I lived with my parents. Until I finished university, and then pretty much straight after uni, I picked up and left for 2 3 months in Czech Republic, and then straight to New Zealand. So that kind of closed up almost my childhood, and then coming to New Zealand, it's you're living on your own as an adult, So I can't compare it. It's a totally different experience.
Yeah.
It's When I look back, I know that my life here in New Zealand is much better than I would have back at home. Not necessarily in a uh, kind of general sense, but what I can do, my lifestyle, work balance, my hobbies. Weather is amazing, comparatively, when you are living in a country when it's 9 months cold and you
Right.
can't do much outside. It's nice to have a hot summers and be able to ride motorbikes and hike and enjoy the nature and outside. It's hugely different.
Yeah. Well, I live on the East Coast of the United States in the deep South, so it's always muggy here. There's a lot of humidity. It's the summers are hot, but it's so humid here. You walk outside and you're sweating immediately. New Zealand looks beautiful. I would love to visit there one day, and I wish I could have got over this year to see a couple of Jin shows. So I'm kind of segueing into this. I'm looking to my right because my beagle is chewing up something over there, so I don't know what he's doing. But yeah, I kind of want to dive into that a little bit, and then we'll swing back around. What was it like being invited to one of Jin's shows and showing up and tattooing the crew? That looked very exciting to me. Tell me how that came about.
Well, it's because of you, really. When you had the interview with Jin, you were talking about the guy from South Island called Stuart, who I tattooed with Jin's portrait, and he tagged me into your. I wasn't even aware of your podcast or your show, so he tagged me into your podcast and the video. So I had a look, and then straight after, because Jin couldn't remember the name of my
I
studio of myself.
I couldn't remember. I didn't remember the name either, so I was very embarrassed on the show. But
That's all right. But straight after, I kind of just gone on Instagram and wrote message to Jin and I said, "Hey, it was me." We exchanged few messages, and then it is actually funny because I know she was in New Zealand touring. Oh, she is still,
yeah, she is.
and
I think she has a show or two left.
yeah. So I randomly messaged her early in the morning at work and say, "Hey," and it was very offhand, like, "Hi, Jane, how you doing? You want to come to Featherstone for a cup of coffee with me?" And she took it as I wrote it, like a freaking advance or something. And but then it was quiet, no replies, and then I think I might have messaged something just to read it. I read it. I'm thinking, holy shit, that sounds pretty rough. So I said, yeah, my partner and I would be quite cool to, just see you or something. Or and I think that diffused the innuendos or whatever. And then she messaged, "Hey, what do you think about backstage tattooing? That they are quite fans of having tattoos at the backstage of their shows on occasion. And if I want to do it, and if I want to come to the homegrown, and I said, let I don't even know what date it is. So I just quickly checked in the calendar. I'm thinking, oh, I have a client from flying from Auckland, but I could finish at 6, then jump in the car, drive to city, might be there at 7:30. If that timing works, then yeah, the hell with it. Let's do it. Why not? And yeah, then she sent what they would like to get tattooed, their logo, and in
Right.
a gin bottle with juniper berries and all the stuff. And I said, yeah, I'll make a design. And then yeah, it was pretty cool to rock up into the hotel and receive a package. Left room card, room key to go drop my gear off, and the all access tickets to the homegrown. We didn't even know what it means. We just rock up to the show and try to figure out where the ticket will take us. And
Oh, she is amazing. She really is. That is awesome that she did that.
yeah,
She did that. She gave my wife and I tickets to Bourbon and Beyond last year.
mhm,
It's another festival in Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky. So she's amazing and very generous in that regard.
yeah.
So yeah, that she's very
You know,
awesome.
she's I have never, well, haven't met or spoken to like a very popular artist of any kind, singers or whatever, and then you have a kind of imagination what they may be like, but it might not be positive
Yeah,
necessarily,
right, right,
but it was like meeting a sister, like it was
exactly.
it was just so cool, just so laid back. I could kind of discern that Kiwis are usually quite chilled out people, but she's famous and does her thing, and but when you rock up in there and you just hug and chat and just like you were buddies, childhood buddies, and had a chat and oh yeah do this, let's come here. That was pretty spectacular, really. That was good.
Yeah, and there's a saying that says, don't ever meet your heroes or your idols, but she's an exception. I mean, she really is a genuinely great person.
Yeah,
I love talking to her. Love
yeah.
talking to her.
She's awesome, and her team, their band, what she played here in New Zealand, such a cool bunch.
Oh yeah.
We laughed quite a lot in the room.
Well, this podcast is really becoming a Kiwi connection because I've got you. I talked
Mhm.
to Dave a couple weeks ago, Dave Goodison, so he was on the show.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm speaking to another Kiwi. Her name is Brooke Singer from French for Rabbits. I don't know if you've heard of that band, but she's going to be on an episode of my new podcast. So I love the Kiwi connection. This is awesome.
Nice. Yeah. It's kind of second-hand Kiwi connection with me, but
Oh, hey, that's okay. That's okay. I really am excited to have you on, and I want you to talk about what you do and what you have coming up. So I did take some notes. You are coming to a couple of expos and festivals, really around the world. You have one coming up in Taiwan
mm,
next month in May. You want to talk a little bit about that?
yeah, I like I like overseas conventions, and I absolutely adore Asian countries of any kind. And also, it is the closest you can get out of New Zealand. If you want to go Europe or USA, the flights are much longer and everything. So going to Asia is just one flight out of Auckland, and you are there. So it is easy access. But I love the culture, I love the food, and the tattoo culture in Asia is really amazing. It's so different to the Western tattoo culture, and I do enjoy it. So before COVID, we used to go to 3 or 4 conventions a year to Singapore, Hong Kong, Taiwan, China, all over the
Oh,
places. And
nice.
so now, and lots of the shows are postponed or haven't been working. So now they all starting getting back into the swing of the things and start working. So and I have a friends in Taiwan who are organizing a different show. So I booked myself there, and yeah, well, I think 3 weeks later there was the Vietnam show. So I'm thinking, oh, my will go as well to that one too. And now the
Yeah, I have
guys
it.
from
The Da Nang Tattoo Festival, right?
yes, and the guys from Taiwan just messaged me that they are going to Saigon convention, which is the 1 week after the Taiwan. And I messaged me if
Oh,
I want to come with them. So I thought, oh, we're gonna be in Saigon, so we might as well go. So might be 3 shows instead of two, just kind of dropping in.
oh, wow, wow. Well, and then I have in my notes you're coming to the U.S., so you'll be in Cali in September, California.
Yeah, I have a very very good friends in Victorville in high desert. Um, a shop called Art Junkies. So I go there to them quite often. Well, try to go every year for a guest spot, and then the Intense company, what I'm sponsored by, they're doing a show in New Jersey. So I'm gonna go there for their convention, and so try to do a little guest spot there. We'll see. We might do a guest spot in New York and then go back, or might do what we did last year: go to Slovakia, see my family, or I don't know, and marry it up with the more conventions on the way. I'll
Yeah, well, I
see.
see you have one on the East Coast. You're going to be in New Jersey as well in September.
Yeah, yeah, that's the one. And there
Okay.
is a week later is a show in Germany called Elite Tattoo Convention, which I have an invitation for. So I'm just trying to see if I can organize it to go there, and then from there the flights back to New Zealand would be going through Asia, and just a week later is a tattoo convention in Singapore. So I might do that one too. So it's just kind of have to wait till about June, start planning all this stuff, but see how it works out financially. But we'll see how we go. Would be cool to have a
Well,
plan.
being a horror writer, I go to a few conventions, and the conventions I go to, there's some interesting characters for sure. Do you have any interesting stories about any conventions you've been to? Has anything stuck out? Has there been a person that has asked you, to do something you weren't quite sure about? Just want to know your overall convention experience. If you have anything that kind of sticks out in your head.
I think what comes to my mind is the kind of preconceived ideas of trying to think what people would like get tattooed. You go into a new country, new people, new clientele, you have no contacts whatsoever. So you try to make some. I know nobody's gonna come there and try to get a full day tattooing done. So they wanna. You it's easier to do smaller tattoos, little flash designs, which people can pick from. So you have to kind of make designs to hopefully cater to the people in there. And last 2 conventions in China and Taiwan, I just thought, oh, what would Taiwanese people like? So I googled up the kind of history, and I did some dolls and pandas, and what people in New Zealand like. If you ask a Kiwi what they want to get done, it's either New Zealand birds or some kind of nature. It's something from local, and so I put that idea to the Taiwanese, and I did all the local stuff I thought they might like. Not a single person wanted anything local, and I ended up tattooing a Native American Indian lady with a wolf head, and it's all the kind of Western stuff is very popular and exciting, and so people very much want to do that rather than anything from home. So that was a lesson learned. That was,
All right. Well, that sounds interesting. So, do you have any other experiences and conventions that stick out in your head?
I don't know. It's just our travels are food based. We love eating interesting food, and it is kind of when you go to these some of the countries. I've been to conventions where we were only 3 white guys, and the rest was the local population. And then we tried to go into the little canteen, little area when they had food, and all you see is just a little tiny 200 ramekins filled with pig's brains, and
Oh,
and it's delicious. We grab some, get a spoon, and we just eat it with chili oil and stuff, and it's absolutely delicious. But it's kind of like, oh, that's cool. I can get on board with this. Yeah, and
Oh my goodness.
the organization is amazing. The way those shows are run, especially in Asia, are just such a clockwork. Like Singapore is probably one of my favorite shows. Like it's everything is top notch, amazing venue. It's pretty cool. And it's very pretty tight.
So, if you know, we may have some aspiring tattoo artists listening, and you have a such a wealth of experience in the field. What advice can you give to people wanting to break into the business of being a tattoo artist? What are some pitfalls they can look out for, and some advice you can give them to help them in their journey to kind of maybe get where you are one day?
Like probably it's probably any other tattoo artist would say, just draw and be patient. And I think you need to create like a solid base of artwork which can hold you, as a foundation. When I started, I wasn't necessarily uh, into the traditional way of tattooing, uh, like the American trade and all that kind of stuff. I just draw realistic stuff. When I started drawing in around 2007, well, I was 27 or 28 years old when I picked up a pencil for first time. So there was not much. We didn't have any internet at home, so I just sat myself in a corner of my kitchen, and I just drew everything I saw in my house, in the living room, all the sofa, walls, pictures. Then I sat on the other side and I drew everything in the kitchen: bananas in the bowl, all the uh, utensils hanging, and just drew whatever I got my hands on. And I wasn't necessarily focused on doing tattoo designs. Lots of people are. I think if you start, the majority of tattoo artists, I would say, would be traditional based with line work, and
Hmm.
from there you build it up. But it was never kind of strong point for me, and I just loved the realistic look. So I just drew whatever ever came in my hands, pictures from magazines. I just redrew it. Later on, when I downloaded some pictures of other people's tattoos, what they have done, I redraw them in pencils to try to understand the color combinations, why they did this, why they did what they did, why they
Hmm.
mixed this color with that color. And so my drawing was never specific that I'm gonna do a skull and it's gonna be an outline skull with some information inside. I just did a realistic skull with blurred up edges, and then I started doing the watercolor stuff. So I completely made madness on a paper, really, and then I tried to translate that madness onto the skin, which took a little bit of figuring out and practice because I was kind of on my own at the time. But I think that what led to my work today, that there is no necessarily constraints. There were
Right.
rules in tattooing, but I feel like I broke lots of them straight away, and I got a little bit of shit for it too. Because when you talk to a traditional artist who've been doing it for 30 years, and that's how it is done, and you start doing something totally different, they're not gonna like it. But
Yeah, it
um,
rubs them the wrong way, huh?
yeah, yeah, but and I think every artist who kind of did that, they gone through the same process, same experiences. But I think all that brought me to what I'm doing now, and I'm lucky that or fortunate, I should say, that the company who I use their inks of are amazing, and it's so much fun to have the variety of inks
Well,
and the
if you
colors.
want to mention them, you certainly can. I mean, that's
Oh,
fine with me. If
it's
you
the
want to promo
intense,
them, there.
the mighty
Awesome,
intense. Um,
awesome, awesome.
it's I, I think what makes me quite happy too is that you don't necessarily hang out with too many companies who push learning. And tattoo industry was always, for me, try to get in there was really hard because nobody want to say anything. Everybody
Nobody
has
wants to
secrets.
share.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
then you go to these guys' convention. The first convention we went to Vegas, I think 4 or 5 years ago. It was crazy. Like they held 3 days or 2 days of seminars, 10 people each day. I was there from 8 o'clock till midnight, 2 days in a row, listening to multitude of artists telling all their secrets, how they do stuff, how they mix colors, and nobody does that, So that was absolutely mind blowing. And when I went there, I kind of picked because I understood I can't sit through every single seminar in a row because your brain will explode. So I picked, I want to see these, I don't want to see that, I want to see these, I don't want to see that. And then I go there, I'm thinking, holy shit, I'm not leaving. Like there is any
You're home.
info. Yeah, and they could talk about marshmallows and rainbows. I didn't care. There was artists sharing their views of the world, of their visions, of their art, and there was information. And I was sitting there with my little notepad. What is he saying? Oh, I write it down. Oh, yeah, yeah, of course. And
Just soaking it all in. Yeah.
yeah, exhausted at the end. And sometimes it's contradictory. Some guy says, I talked to there was a guy with a seminar who this whole portion was about the logo was fuck purple. And it's all about how much he hates the purple color, and you just, okay, maybe purple is not good for me to use. Then the next guy comes over and he says, man, use purple. Purple's amazing. You can mix it with that. You can mix it with this. And you just, what's going on? I don't know which to believe. And you just have to just come home, process all that information, and just try it out and see what works for you. Uh, and it's good to have this opportunity to learn and listen and
Well,
when you
it's amazing that the company is sharing that information and pulling
yeah.
all those people together for you, because you're right. Not all industries do that, and a lot of industries are so self guarded and afraid someone's trying to take something from them, that they don't want to share. So that's awesome. But yeah, continue. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, I think now when you said what I like about the conventions, I think it is the opportunity to go and listen to artists. If somebody, lots of conventions do a little seminar blog on the first day. So if I have a time, I always pay some artists some money and join this and go and listen. It doesn't matter what position I am in, how confident I am in my work. It's always good to see somebody else or hear somebody else's opinions and views because we all grew up differently. We all have our own background and the views, and I think it's nice to hear somebody else's perspective on that. And whether you use it or not doesn't matter. You have that in your arsenal to use at some point if you wish. Or if you don't use it, then no. But at least you are aware of it that some people do such thing, and that can help you
Yeah.
to do some other stuff, which is pretty cool.
Well, it makes me think whether you've been in whatever industry you're in, whether you're a tattoo artist or a mechanic, if you've done it for 1 year or 30 years, when you are able to participate in something like that, there's always something you can learn. There's always something new that you can pick up. It doesn't matter if you've done this for 10 years or whatever. Some guy
Absolutely.
who's done it 2 years may have some method that he's doing that you never thought of. And you're going, oh, that's kind of cool. Or, um, you could maybe guide him in another direction, say, hey, you may want to try it this way. It's a good give and take. So I'm really happy to hear that.
Yeah, and it's also quite exciting to not to get so grumpy about the new young artists coming into the industry too. And yeah, because you can kind of look at the youngsters and just, oh man, you're just a kid, you haven't done anything, but they already grow up in a very different society, with they are barely out of the womb and they already have a cell phone with the internet, and so by the time they get to the age they decide to pursue a career in drawing or anything, their visions, their ideas, involvement is so different to anything I've been through. So it's nice to kind of be inspired by that also. You know,
Right. Yeah.
the age
It,
doesn't matter.
yeah, I totally agree. I'm 54 years old, so when I grew up, there was no internet. It was, you know, you're right. It's a completely different world now, and the way people view things and the way information is presented to them is a world apart from when I grew up and probably from when you grew up. So, uh, it's pretty cool. Now, I know you're a tattoo artist, and you talked about your art prior to becoming a tattoo artist. So, what kind of art did you dabble in? Did you have things that were in art studios? Did you do any painting? Any, you know, like I have a lot of artist friends, and they've done some portraits for me and things like that. Did you dabble in that kind of thing and kind of share art through that method?
No,
No, no.
uh, yeah, as I said, I was kind of my mother. My mother wanted me to be an accountant because she was an accountant and it was a good job for her. Later on, I learned that she didn't want to be accountant at all. It's just the government told her to be that, so she did, and
Yeah, right.
that's what it is. And I didn't have a head for accounting very much, but somehow I ended up being steered to engineering. And if if I look back, whether I was any artistic or doing anything like that, I might have scribbled with my ballpoint pen on the top of my workbooks with some random sketches of stupid stuff, but nothing in the kind of will I want to do drawing. And then when I decided to do tattooing or even just try, I went to the tattoo shops in the town I used to live in, Nelson, and everybody says, "Well, you have to have a portfolio of drawing." So I said, "All right." I come home and I picked up
Okay.
just colored pencil and go with it. I'm a bit of a stubborn kind of bullheaded guy, and if I get something in my head, I just go 100%. So it's
Guilty.
yeah, so it's good. It's frustrating at some point, but the drive is there. And I met this guy in Wellington when we moved there. His name is Jason Sector. He had the little painting classes. He was recommended through people who actually gave us their apartment for rent, and I went to do some painting classes with him once a week for I think 5 months. Uh, that was quite fun to kind of have a dabble at oils and well, I did I think two paintings over that period of time, and then I haven't touched it. But yeah, pencils, color pencils was my medium to start with.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna fast forward up to like now, and you've become a huge name in the tattoo world. As far as I can tell, when I looking at social media, you're one of the top guys. So that's why I'm so happy you came on the show. I do appreciate that. Uh,
No worries.
but but can you share with the listeners maybe your process on some of the more intricate tattoos that you're doing now? Like how do you set it up? I mean, you don't have to go into every minute detail, but kind of give us an overview of what goes into putting together one of those awesome, colorful bird tattoos. I mean, those things blow me away, and I don't know how many days or hours it takes you to do those, like a sleeve. But could you kind of share an example of what your process is on how you do something like that and how you get the results that you get? Because it looks so fucking cool. Every one I see just blows my mind. So I'd like to kind of dig into that a little bit. How you get that effect?
Okay, thank you. I think um, well, for me, it always starts with a consultation with the client. We sit down for half an hour, we chat, we get to know each other a little bit to figure out what we want to do. And I, al- I was just talking about it yesterday to my client that I think if your tattoo ability matches up your design ability, then that's a kind of nice balance because I think lots of people you can design and especially now on the technology iPads and thing you can do an amazing designs, but then to translate it to the skin is a very different thing. And if your if your tattoo skills match that, then it is just up to you to create the most amazing design, because you know you can tattoo it afterwards. So if I do a design and I'm not super happy, it's just our tattoo. It's nice, but I know I could done better. It's just my fault because I haven't put the time into making the design better. Um, and then for me, the refer, everything is realistic based. So I, I think the most of my preparation the day before. I do always the designs the night before my tattoo session, um, and it takes me anywhere from 2 to 4 hours every night. So I tattoo all day. I'm in a shop since 9 till 6, and then I come home, have a dinner, and I spend another 2, 3, 4 hours making the design for the next day. It's a long day, but the longest time is just to find the references, the photographs. I have multitude of websites I go to, and I just scour the whole internet for images what would work for me. And even if it's not 100% right, now I can use the technology to reshape it. If I find a bird, for example, who is perched on a branch, but his head or body is in the wrong position, I can manhandle it and shift it and change it and cut and paste to rejig it to fit the area. And I think the technology is amazing because I get all my clients to send me a photograph of the limb or the area we're tattooing on the body, so I can fit it exactly to the thing. And I think that's
So
a hard.
you actually put a template. Like if I wanted something on my arm, you would take the image that you were going to tattoo on my arm and superimpose it on the template. Is that
Correct.
how it works?
Yeah, because
Nice.
people come in all size and shapes. So before this, when you start tattooing, I did a design for a guy, and I told him it's gonna take a 1 day, and then he turns up at the session, and he's almost 7 foot, and his upper arm is size of my thigh. You know, and I just go, holy shit, if we're gonna do it in a nice size, it's gonna take me 3 days, not so. You just don't know now with the tech. If people send you, the photographs of the areas, then I know what I'm dealing with, and because of that, you can shape and stretch the designs to fit the area rather than making it too skinny. And I think the half of your effort or the win is just knowing what you're working and fitting the tattoo to the limb, to the size of the area you're tattooing. Because if it looks nice, it has a nice flow, it works with the muscles, structure, and the shapes and lines, then it just is aesthetically pleasing, you know. So that's a huge benefit.
Yeah, that just simply amazes me. I
Yeah,
want to kind of bring it back a little bit to Stu. I've been, going back and forth with Stu a little bit on
yeah.
Facebook, and I don't know him personally, but he seemed like a pretty cool guy. So tell me about when he approached you to do the Jin tattoo, because I want to hear that story. I want to know what happened with that. And Stu, if you're listening, love you, man. We were talking about you for a few minutes, so hope you like it.
Oh, I think just like any other client, just he emailed me if he must have found me online. If I'm interested in doing Jin's portrait on his forum, and I'm always keen, and I'm doubly keen because my 98% of my work is color work, and I really try to learn. I get easily bored, so I always looking for something new to learn or do a changes and little flips and flops. So I decided that I really want to learn and put more time into doing black and gray. So when he says he want a black and gray portrait, I'm just yeah. Let's do this. That's awesome. And then we just booked it up. And I think it was too that me, my partner, and I we went for a little weekend up in Auckland, and we took a day trip to Waiheke Island, just have a little look around, and we literally just arrived, and then gone into a little store to buy an ice cream or something, and then I just see somebody kind of poking a head from behind the shelves, kind of ogling and looking. And I'm just, what's that? And next minute, there is a guy next to me. Oh, you Mario? Oh, I'm booked with you in about 3 months or something. And I'm just, oh yeah, that's great. I kind of, I'm on a holiday. I don't necessarily want to talk tattoos. Thank you. I didn't say that, but we had a chat and we gone our separate ways, and then we caught up much later. But yeah, he's a good fella. He's a fun guy.
Well, I hope I get to meet him one day because he seems like a pretty cool guy. And what the compliment Jen gave you on the podcast she was on with me, yeah, the tattoo looks better than I do. So yeah, tell everyone that's me. That shit is me. So that
Uh,
was awesome.
yeah, I think I tattooed Stuart's partner or wife on his other arm with a little kitten too. So we saw each other afterwards too. It's nice to have these little kind of stories, connections to connect over. It's quite fun.
Oh yeah, it is. It is. And uh, when I learned of you, I became obsessed with your art because I'd always see it on Instagram, and every time it pops up, I want to look and see what you've done next because it's all really good. I mean, it's amazing stuff. So, what are some of your favorite things to tattoo? Do you have favorites? You know, do you rather do birds or landscapes or nature? Do you have things that you really get into when you're tattooing?
I I like nature. I think I love hiking and love getting out there, and that's probably why I quite like riding motorbikes, because you are right there. You are right at the element. I love sleeping in a tent and in the bushes, and I love looking at birds and them flying around and be free and doing their thing. It's pretty cool. Um, I love doing portraits. Sometimes it would be quite fun to do portraits of something from movies, because you can take a little bit more liberty. You can change colors and do that stuff. But in New Zealand, people don't do much of that. They don't idolize movie stars and famous people. If people want a portrait, it's much more um, to the heart. It's either a parent or a child or a grandparent or somebody who is really close to you. Which, don't take me wrong, is amazing. I think it's so rewarding when you do a portrait of somebody who's not with us anymore, and people are so happy and joyous at the end to have them with them forever. You don't get it if you get tattooed Morgan Freeman from Shawshank Redemption. It's just not the
Right.
same element of heartfelt emotion going through it. But from the artistic point of view, I can't exactly go and tattoo a half a face of the grandmother who just passed away in blue color, because I just
Right.
wanted to have fun with it. So
Right. Right.
you have to stick to more of a skin tones and do it in a proper original way. I do enjoy it. I I think I love tattooing. The subject is maybe variable, but I do love the connection with people. And I even when we opened the shop here in Featherstone, I put a television on the wall. We don't have a telly at home, but the first television I think in 17 years in New Zealand we bought for my studio, and we even got a Netflix subscription for it. And
Oh,
I even in 2.5 years, I think there was a one person who turned the telly on, and there was a young fella, 20 in his early 20s, and he was just excited to watch the movies all day. So, uh, but nobody else watches anything. We just end up talking all day, and I think that's cool. I love creating these relationships, and it become part of your family. And it's in one way, I feel that when I do a tattoo for someone, you give a little bit of yourself into their body through, I don't know, I'm not necessarily spiritual, but maybe there is something like that. And I think it's nice to know more about the people, when you're spending 8 hours a day with in a very close quarters. Mm,
Yeah, it seems like you can't help but find out something about them in that personal space. And that is so, for me, that's refreshing to hear because everywhere you go here, I'm
mm,
speaking, in the places I've been, there's always televisions, there's always people on their screens, social media, scrolling, and you never see people talking to each other. Their
yeah,
face is always on some sort of screen. So that is super refreshing to hear. The only kind of equivalent I could say maybe here is an old fashioned barbershop. So if you go into a barbershop here, you got the guys just they're not looking at phones, they're talking to each other, they're buzzing the hair and just having conversations that guys have.
mm,
Um, but they're not sitting there for 8 hours getting their hair cut either. So that's pretty cool. That is really cool. I'm glad to hear that. And you are giving a piece of yourself. You're sharing your art, and not only are you sharing it, you're imprinting your art on someone, and it's going to be with them until they die. Uh, that's that's pretty amazing if you think about it.
yeah. It is a,
So
it is
yeah,
it is definitely a special thing, and I'm I'm extremely, I don't know, fortunate that people do choose me and come in, and I just want to do the best job I possibly can, and just yeah, hang out. And the the nice thing is that the type of work I do attract a very specific type of people, and I we are almost 99% kind of like-minded, and we
right,
just end up, yeah, chatting about everything, life, and my life back at home, people's lives here. New Zealand's kind of cool too, that there is people come from so many different places, and they have a history, and nobody is even the fourth generation of Kiwis. Their grandparents came from somewhere else, and everybody has some kind of history. So it's quite cool to chat about. And I ask questions. I'm not exactly too squeamish to prod information out of people. They don't have to give it, but we always have I don't know, we have good chats. And we don't exactly talk for 8 hours. Everybody, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, after 5 hours of tattooing, we all just get in our own heads and just try to get it over with, because everybody's in
right.
a bit of pain at the end. So you just want to get in your mind and endure the last
You want to
time.
hit the finish line, yeah?
Yeah. So, we just get a little bit quiet. But, it's quite nice. At that point, it's quite comfortable to be quiet with each other, or
Yeah,
sing
yeah,
along
because
to the radio or something, just
you've
hum.
established a rapport, and then
Mm,
then you're in the kind of okay. We got a couple more hours of this, so let's just get through it, right?
yeah, anchor down and push it out, and it'll be fine.
Well, how long have you and this is probably on your website, but how long has your shop been open? How long have you been tattooing there?
Well, here in this town, 2.5 years, I think,
Two and a half
about.
years. Okay.
Before that, we had a shop in Wellington. We had it for 5 years. Um, and then I worked 3 years in a different shop where I started tattooing when they gave me a chance and took me on. Um, but yeah, this is the shop in city we had. There was 6 stations. There was lots of management, and I think if we wanted to continue run a big shop, I would probably have to step back from tattooing a little bit and do more the administration and try to keep running a tight ship where I don't like it. I like tattooing.
Right,
So
right. That's what you want to do. You want to tattoo.
yeah,
Oh,
so
that's
now I have a private studio just with myself. Now my partner decided to tattoo, so I'm teaching her a little bit. So she's doing pretty well. So yeah, it's quite nice. It's simple, it's quiet, it's peaceful.
so. I'm kind of a wimp, right? And I don't have a single tattoo. But after talking to Jen and talking to you, I may want to do that. So what would your advice be to someone brand new who doesn't have any ink on their body, what mindset should they come in with when they? And I'd love to come to New Zealand and get one by you, to be honest. Or maybe when you're in the States, maybe I can find you somewhere. But what advice would you give a newbie, someone like myself, wanting to get a tattoo?
Do it. I
Just do
know.
it.
Yeah, you can overthink everything for a long time and everything. You seems like you have done your. You look around. You've if you look if you're interested in tattooing or getting a tattoo, then obviously you start following tattoo pages or work what's been done, so you can crystallize a style you like, whether you are more realistic or traditional or Japanese or any of the different styles out there. And once you kind of know what you really like the look of, then you probably should find out the person who would do that particular style you are after and who do it well, and then I just try to get in with them and have an idea what you are. Lots of my tattoos these days are not necessarily even meaningful in the idea of what the tattoo represents. I lately just collect people as the artists. I travel around. We had guest artists in the shop, and whenever these people we really got on, and we had good fun. Then I wanted a piece of them. So I didn't even really care what. I just go through their designs or things and say, "Oh, that looks cool. I'll have that." So I have a little piece of sushi on my bag, on my leg, and my one guy is doing scripts, so he did all my kneecap, and now I have a Belgian guy and a French guy and a Welsh lady and Samoan artists, and all these people now, all these tattoos just represents them and my time with them. So, but it's a very different point to you. This is my life, and I go around, and this is important to me, the people. Uh,
Right.
so I collect that. But I would just say, find a style, find the artist, and then kind of have an idea of what your subject would be. And if you chose the right style and the right artist, then you are pretty much there. You just give the subject to the person, and they probably deliver something beautiful, what you cherish for life.
Well, that's
Um,
some great advice. Because if and when I do get a tattoo, I do want it to have meaning. I don't want it to be something just random.
yeah,
I want to get something that means something to me that I can kind of hold on to. Um, but yeah, that's great advice. On the other side, have you ever had to go in and kind of rework something that didn't turn out so well, that maybe it was done by another artist, or something someone wasn't quite happy with? Not necessarily that the artist did a bad job, but they weren't happy with the design in the long run. Have you been able to go in and kind of retouch any of that kind of thing? That makes
yeah.
sense.
Of course, you work in the tattoo industry. You're gonna find people who are either laser their arms or want to cover ups or change things. Uh, I used to do a lot of cover ups when I started tattooing, um, but now I try to avoid them, especially if somebody has like a big black line work. And any of my stuff, I don't know, it's gonna work so well. I did heaps of that before, and fresh tattoo looks amazing. And then few years back, the black lines just come through one way or another. The ink, it might be sooner or later, the old ink kind of mixes with the new ink, and it starts shining
Okay.
through. And I feel that I charge quite a bit of money for my work, and if I can't guarantee that when the tattoo heals, it's gonna look beautiful as on the first day, then I wasted my time, and they wasted their time and their money for something,
Right.
subpar. So I if it's like that, I rather send people to have a couple laser sessions to get it lightened up, which open up a whole bunch of whole selection more what we can do with it. And I
other
just tattooed,
opportunities.
yeah,
Gotcha.
I just tattooed this amazing lady from Auckland, and she had all her arm lasered off from some flowers, and it was nothing what she wanted, and now we tattooing over it, and it's hard. I didn't expect that it's gonna happen. The video gonna be so slow because she had 10 laser session, and she had, I think, 3 or 4 tattoo sessions before to rework it. I think 3 different people worked over it, and they just put more pigment over and over, so it took a lots of laser. But now I'm doing flowers over it, and it's hard. The skin has changed. It has a bit of damage on, and
Yeah.
it's just slow process. And but it's nice to try to help to people feel good about themselves and and change it. The tricky part, if somebody has a tattoo done by somebody else, and then they want to add, say, you got some flowers done 10 years ago, and then you like my flowers now, and you want to add my flowers to it, you have to understand that those flowers are going to be so different.
Yeah.
Lots
The
change.
contrast is going to be really severe, probably, the contrast
Yeah.
between the two.
So, it's quite hard to mesh up all these different things. So I don't get to do a lot of it these days, but I don't know, it's good.
Yep. Well, Mario, we're coming up to, almost an hour mark on the podcast, but I want to leave time for you to share with our listeners where they can find you if they want to book you, because a lot of Kiwis listen to my podcast now because of Jen. So thank you, Jen, for that. I appreciate that.
Hello,
But
Jim.
if you want to share, where they can find you, what social media they could follow, how they can book a session with you, I'm going to be quiet and give you the floor.
Okay. So all my handles on the interwebs are inked by Mario. INKEDBY Mario, like the Super Mario. And my website, my Instagram, my Facebook. I have on my website a little form you can fill in, and just send me an email. I'll get in touch with you. But I'll reside in Featherston in Wairarapa in North Island of New Zealand. And the best way to contact is just to send me an email. And all my bookings are done online, and then I'll organize a consultation. But I'm booked for 6-7 months ahead of time, so the email is the best way to get in touch. So thank you, everyone, for listening.
Okay, so in other words, whenever you book with Mario, you're gonna have to wait a little while, but it's worth it. Okay, it's worth it. Yeah, well, Mario, I really appreciate you coming on. I have been wanting to talk to you, and you've given me some insight on the tattoo world and what you do, and some things to think about. So I do appreciate that.
My pleasure.
But if you guys want to follow me, I'm Charles Campbell, author, Facebook, Instagram. You can find me at valleyboypublications.com. You can find all my books and merchandise there. And I am starting a new podcast. It's called Backstage 421. It's a musicians only podcast. And I'm starting it because I was booking as many musicians as I was horror folks on this podcast. So I'm breaking it up. So that's coming out in April. So that'll be out very soon. And yeah, we appreciate you joining in to this episode of Horror 421, the podcast. I want to thank Mario once again. You can find him at Ink by Mario. I'm going to put all of his links below, so you will just have to click on them and you can find them. And you guys have a great rest of your week, and take care until next time.
We hope you had a horrific time, lovelies. Thank you for tuning in to Horror 421, the podcast. Be sure to like us on YouTube and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.